With Caitlin Clark out for the WNBA All-Star Game, every spotlight snapped onto the remaining players. This wasn't just a game 8, it was a test. Could they prove they deserved the big contracts and endless media attention? Or would the whole show come crashing down? The athletes put on their game faces, but the real story came from the fans and ESPN. They were desperate to keep you from seeing it. When the viewership numbers dropped, ESPN rushed to run defense masking the disaster for the league and its stars. Let's get honest, is it really that hard to just post the ratings? Apparently, for ESPN, it is. They spun those numbers harder than a Harlem Globetrotter, doing anything to avoid mentioning Caitlin Clark's absence. But her fans? They know the script by now. This isn't the first, second, or 15th time ESPN has tried to erase her impact. This time, though, the cover-up blew up in their faces. Before we pull back the curtain, if you're sick of ESPN's games, smash that like button and subscribe for more Caitlin Clark and WNBA truth bombs. ESPN's favorite move with Clark's influence? Never outright lying, just expert-level cherry-picking. They'll shout about every stat that fits their story and quietly stuff the rest in the trash. Here's a prime example. After the 2025 WNBA draft, ESPN proudly trumpeted, viewership up 119%. At a glance, it looks like the league is off to the races. But wait, they're comparing to 2023, not last year. Why skip 2024? Anyone in business knows, it's always year-over-year comparisons. Why did they dodge that? Because 2024 was Caitlin Clark's draft, the one that pulled 2.45 million viewers. If ESPN compared to 2024, the headline would scream, draft ratings down 49%. But they didn't want that, they buried it. And it didn't stop there. In March Madness 2025, ESPN ran the same trick. Early rounds, compared to 2023. Clark played then seemed fair enough. But the second the Final Four arrived, poof, comparison vanished. They switched to third highest ever, which sounds historic, until you recall the top 2 spots were both Clark-powered tourneys. The real story? Ratings cratered by more than 10 million. Every time a stat beats Clark, ESPN shouts it from the rooftops. When it doesn't, silence. That's not an accident, that's spin. And the wildest part? They still think fans won't notice. They believe if they pump out enough record headlines, we'll all just believe women's basketball keeps breaking barriers without Clark heaven, as the opposite is blindingly obvious. It's Streisand effect in real time. The more they hide it, the more glaring the Clark-shaped hole in every number becomes. Clark's fans are relentless. They catch every half-truth, every stat dodge, every awkward leapfrog through timelines, and put ESPN on blast every single time. The more the league, the players, and the media try to tone down Clark's achievements, the more exposed they get. What started as a PR tactic is now Cometa Severi desperate play to spread the love, just proves how lopsided the impact really is. Think about it. When Clark was named Time Athlete of the Year, backlash exploded. Not because she didn't deserve it, but suddenly, the peanut gallery demanded all WNBA players be on the cover as if this was an attendance trophy. Where was this fairness when Asia Wilson or Stewie got their solo covers? Crickets. Same play when Caitlin grabbed an ESPY. Her coach couldn't say congrats without instantly pivoting to shout out the entire league. That's how fragile the culture is. Even praise for Clark has to be politically negotiated. And whenever the media does grudgingly mention Clark's popularity, they refuse to give her credit. We wouldn't be talking about Caitlin Clark the way that we do if it wasn't for that moment with Angel Reese. And I will die on this hill. Suddenly, it's always about a rivalry, a headline, anything except the truth. Clark is the ratings rocket. And God forbid her fans are acknowledged, then the narrative flips to toxic, hateful. New fans ruining the W. Some say Clark should have picked Angel Reese in the All-Star draft just to rein in her own out-of-control fan base. Even the Phoenix Mercury fired off veiled warnings about Indy's supposed dangers for other teams. It's farcical. League is openly trying to diminish the very player and fan army, tripling their reach and bankroll. Why? Egos. That's it. They'd rather keep power than back the person actually driving their future. Behind closed doors, everyone knows the truth, especially the owners. Whenever Clark is absent, ticket sales and ratings nosedive sometimes by 50% or more. There is no NBA star whose absence would slash prices to these levels. Clark out of the All-Star Game, prices dropped 48% overnight. In Texas, high school football tickets sell for more than that. Faced with a starless showcase, the league's moment to shine suddenly looked like an impending disaster. At first, the ratings for skills and three-point contests gave hope. 1.3 million viewers, up 89% from last year. Maybe, just maybe, the players could deliver record numbers on their own, but ESPN's narrative shift began the moment All-Star Game numbers arrived. Second most watched ever, up 158% from 2023, they bellowed. But for the skills events, they compared to 2024. For the main game, suddenly it's 2023, before Clark was even in the league. Why the switch? Because the 2024 All-Star Game with Clark had 3.4 million viewers. This year, only 2.2 million, a 36% drop, 1.2 million people gone. Did ESPN mention that? Of course not. Imagine boasting about Kareem as the NBA's scoring king unless you count LeBron, then forget it. That's ESPN's playbook. Highlight what looks biggest, bury anything that could embarrass the W. To be fair, 2.2 million is great for this league, but it's nowhere close to historic when it's down 36% from last year's reality. And ESPN's trickery wasn't the end of the embarrassment. Players warmed up in "Pay Us What You Owe Us" shirts, using the showcase to rally pay raise support. But after the chest thumping came the reality. A lifeless, flat All-Star Game critics immediately labeled the worst ever. "Pay us," they demanded, and then served up a performance no one wanted to pay for. Then Kelsey Plum iced the cake, taking a post-game shot at Team Clark, calling out Clark and company for skipping the protest t-shirt pre-meeting. The t-shirt, United Front, was determined this morning not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that. She did it in Clark's adopted home. Instead of lauding Indiana's record crowd and energetic fans, she chose to publicly slight the one player filling every seat and moving every metric in their favor. NBA champ and broadcaster Stacey King didn't hold back. As you're fighting for better salaries, you still find a way to throw shade at Caitlin Clark. Why? And again, look at Sabrina's reaction to Plum's comment. It says a lot. Some of these girls are really petty, and someone needs to explain to them it's hurting their league, and it's sad to see. It's devastating because he's right. With a weak on-court showing and off-court drama, the players couldn't survive another black eye, so ESPN's historic declaration was a godsend. Meanwhile, the owners and any fan who does 5 minutes of research know it's actually worse. Clark in uniform would have sent viewership over 4 million, smashing all records. Every single game she plays sets a new high. Sky, Liberty, and Sun saw record-smashing numbers: 2.7 million, 2.2 million, 1.7 million each. No other player moves eyeballs like Clark does. So what really happened? The All-Star Game, minus Clark, was still the second highest viewed in history. Imagine how massive it gets when she's actually playing. That is the Caitlin Clark effect, no matter how much ESPN wants to myth-make around it. Here's the bottom line. The growth is real. Team values have doubled since Clark arrived. Owners are lining up to invest. A lockout helps no one. An honest embrace of what's driving the league would help everyone. Stop shading the fans, stop gaslighting the public, and finally recognize the Caitlin Clark effect is carrying the WNBA, whether you like it or not. The longer the league denies it, the clearer it becomes, and the more likely Clark remains the only player who truly matters to the exploding fan base. If you stuck with this till the end, drop a GOAT in the comments because you are the GOAT. See you next time.